Hi, Ask an RDC here, and in this video we're actually going to be going over some of the comments that you left below, and I just wanted to respond to them more in a formal fashion. Some of them I have responded to by typing, but I want to go into details. Some of these questions I either think are interesting or I see quite a few times. Starting off with the first one, would love to hear your thoughts on recruits in their 30s. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I think if anything, you bring maturity to the table, and it should really help you with it. Just don't let the maturity of you being someone that's older than the kids that come in, either be 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever have you. Don't let that go to your head. You're going to be treated the same. And the amount of effort you put in is going to be expected the same as that 20-year-old. So I would say just be humble. But I think if you're mentally prepared through life experience, you should be just fine. But just don't let it go to your head. And yeah, you'll be fine. There's nothing wrong with joining in their 30s. Next question I have is, I'll be in the debt pool for 362 days when I ship. This has been well awaited. August 1st ship date. That's great. Congratulations. This is not really a question, it's more of a comment. And the thing I wanted to mention on this was I was actually in the debt pool for about 300 days. It was near a year. I don't remember what the parameters were that caused me to wait or why I couldn't ship sooner. I do know they offered me. I said I wanted to ship right away. I just wanted to be in the Navy. I wanted, I'm married and I got a kid along the way, and I'm damn near homeless. So I just want to know what do I need to go? And they said, oh, you can go submarine. I said, no, I'm 6'2". I'm not going to submarine. No, thank you. So they're all right. The other one is this, and so I took that. It sounded more interesting. And they said, okay, cool. You have to wait 9 months before you can ship out then. So yeah, I could have left sooner. Don't know other than that, I don't know why it takes a while. But yeah, it could take a while sometimes. Sometimes they give you an opportunity to ship out within a week. Sometimes it takes up to almost a year. So, hopefully you've been taking the time to work out, stay in shape, and study your start guide. And, good luck to you. Next one we have is just graduated May 5th, 2023. Can confirm 100% accurate. Get about 3 phone calls. One after battle stations, another one after the official PFA, and one during week 4. So this one, once again, it's just nice to be verified in the sense of the information I'm putting out is true. However, if you ever notice I'm putting out information that may be dated or is not correct, I highly encourage you to challenge me on that one. And just, if I'm putting out bad info or bad gouge is what it's called, then please put it down in the comment section below, and I'll happily correct myself. And because the whole point of this channel is we're not trying to convince people to join. We're not, this is not what the point of the channel is. I'm just trying to put out proper information. And if any time we put in an opinion, we'll let you know, and it's an opinion. But most of the time we're doing the best to just give facts. Next one is, how loyal would you say females are in the Navy? My girlfriend went recently in boot camp right now. We're planning on getting married after she graduates, but I've seen a lot of videos to just be single if your significant other joins that Navy, making overthinking, knowing that she could cheat while deployed. So I would not recommend going in single or married or connected. I'm not gonna make any of those recommendations. What I would say, or whether or not she's going to be faithful or not, what I'm going to say is, your relationship is important. I joined when I was married. I was very recently married, so the relationship is still new. But you had to have faith in your relationship, whether or not her being in boot camp or deployed, or if you're worried about that, what if she goes on a family vacation for a week? Are you going to be worried about it then? You have to have faith in your relationship. That's up to you in that relationship. That's something you're going to be dealing with. Not her cheating, but the fact that you two are going to be physically separated for months at a time when deployed or while she's at boot camp. There's just time, and it might happen randomly where she gets underway for like a week. The important part is that you have a healthy relationship. If that's something you're worried about, that might be something you might want to reflect or talk with your significant other about. But the important part is to have a healthy relationship. Next question is, what are the minimum times not to be set back as I arrive at boot camp? I'm 17. Well, so you have your minimal baseline, and that's going to be done through the PACER test, and you have to pass the PACER test. More details about that are on My Navy HR, but specifically about the PRT. If you look at this here, so if you just go to My Navy HR or even Google PRT standards 2023, you'll get some charts that look like this. So breaking down the charts, it's separated by males and females, and then separated by age group. And then each of that, it's separated by push-ups, planks, and then the run. And then if you're going to do an alternate form of cardio, whether it be the row, swim, bike, sometimes they allow treadmill. It really depends on the situation, but majority of the time you're going to do push-ups, planks, and run. Used to be push-ups, sit-ups, and run, but it's switched to planks now. So looking at males 17 to 19, what you're going to want to get is a good low at the minimum across the board. So 51 push-ups, hold the plank for a minute 42, and run the 1.5 miles and faster than 11 minutes. Now, that is the bare minimum. You'll see satisfactory high and satisfactory medium. Most commands will put you on FEP, or fitness enhancement program, which means that you have to PT with the command no matter what, a certain amount of times a week. It gets reported that you're on FEP. You want to avoid that. Good low is the bare minimum, and you want to be aiming for higher than that. As you get older, it gets easier, or I should say that they get more lenient. But as long as you're in shape, you really shouldn't have a problem. I've never had a problem meeting these standards. The only time I had a problem meeting the standards was I came off a SIQ right after, or LLD after a surgery I had, and it just terrible timing led up to I was considered fit full duty at the time. So yeah, I had a hard time passing the run. Still passed, and then overall my score was still a good high just because I did well in the push-ups and the sit-ups at the time. Because before it was planks, it was sit-ups. So I usually score for a high score I can get. Think of it as a workout. Give it all every single time. I usually try to get an excellent medium at the very least. But, anything good, low, or higher is passing. But yeah, if you're watching this video now, as I'm explaining this, and this is more than a year old, go back and check. The times really don't change. But there are sometimes there's changes, and for example, we used to do sit-ups, now it's forearms and planks. Make sure that you're taking the time to just do the proper research. It should be held at your command as well. If you're active duty and you're somehow watching this video, then yeah, your command should have it. Your CFL, your command fitness leader, will have that. And also you can just Google it anytime. So knowledge is power. Just make sure that you're looking at the right stuff. If they bring contact books, like for numbers and addresses, can they use it? Yes. If you're talking about bringing them for boot camp, then 100%. It's encouraged because you're not going to have your cell phone on you when you go through boot camp. So if you have like a slip of paper or your own little personal notebook that has that information on it, bring it. You can utilize it whenever you're calling home because you're going to be using it with the payphones. So you're going to need to know those numbers unless you have them memorized. If you don't have them memorized, write them all on a piece of paper, write them on a small notebook. Just know that if you bring a notebook, you're going to be able you're going to have to keep that inside your A and B drawer, and that thing gets pretty full pretty quickly. So I'd recommend just have a, just a normal 8.5 by 11 paper and write down the numbers you're going to call. You're not given that much time when you do your phone calls though. So maybe don't write down 30 numbers, but if you can't remember or you're afraid you're going to forget, the 5 or 6 numbers that you're going to be calling while you're there, if it's even that, then yeah, write them down. Fold up a piece of paper and then bring it with you. Let them know this is your personal thing that you want to keep with you. Tape it to your credit card or something like that, and you should be good to go. Next question is, I've been told Navy boot camp was the easiest. Sure doesn't seem like it. And this is response to one of the videos. So each boot camp, and this is how I feel about it. Boot camp can be easy or it can be hard, regardless of the branch. And everyone says, oh, Navy's easiest and Marine Corps is the hardest, or Air Force is the easiest and Army's the hardest. You can argue it different ways all you want. And the reality is, what is your mindset? For me, I was nearly homeless at the time, and I had a wife and a future son to take care of. So to me, this was, and I was working at Walmart, and I was getting paid terrible money. So for me, boot camp was great. I was given 3 hot meals a day, 8 hours of sleep. I was working out, learning new stuff, and I was getting a nice paycheck that was going to take care of me and my family with health insurance to go along with it. So for me, it was easy. It was the first difficult time of me being away from my wife, but it was, and that was, something I learned. You learn to get good at it. It still sucks no matter what, but you get good at, this. It's a conversation we had ahead of time, knowing that this was a possibility. But for me, I thought it was easy. I thought it was fun. It was great. I had one really hard day, and that was a day I was really, really sick. But other than that, I thought boot camp was fun, and therefore it seemed pretty easy to me. But yeah, it's all dependent on your mentality. Any boot camp could be easy. I've done more difficult training. I thought being an RDC was tough, but I still had fun, and therefore when I think back on it, I don't think it was as too hard. And I just remember having a good time, really. Except for the COVID time. But yeah, any boot camp can be easy as long as it's something that you want to do, because when you're doing what you want and you get paid to do it, it can be easy. There'll still be challenges, but yeah, I think I've pretty much answered that one. What classes do you take at boot camp? Well, you take a few classes, and it's all classes that are necessary for you to become a basically trained sailor. So you're going to do classes on Navy ships, planes. You're going to do damage control classes, which is how to fight fires. You do firearms classes, anti-terrorism classes, cybersecurity classes, and these are all the basics of all these things. Yeah, there's quite a few classes that you take, but it's going to be more so training driven, nothing too crazy. Yeah, then you'll go to additional schools afterwards depending on your rate, and those classes will be on specifically what your rate's going to be. But yeah, it's a few different classes, but it's not going to be like high school. If anything, it should be interesting. At least I thought they were interesting. I know that's not what the video is about, but I leave for RTC on the 5th. I've been practicing, but I'm still having issues with swimming. Is the Navy swim test complex or complicated? Is it difficult for someone who has a decent ability to swim? So I've brought this one up just because, one, I have a video that covers this. I think I have a couple of videos that cover this. But swim. Basic, you jump off 10 to 15 foot platform into the water and swim across 30 yards or so pool. And then you have to be able to float utilizing the coveralls. You just got to be able to tread water and float. And then you have to jump off a platform again, but at a different pool where they have a life raft in. So you have to jump off, get in the life raft, and then get out. So those are the swimming that you have to pass. The whole idea of the swim test at boot camp is, if the ship was sinking, can you jump off the ship and swim to a life raft? That's the whole point of it. So they're not expecting you to be Olympic swimmers, Olympic divers, unless your job in the Navy is going to be, a rescue swimmer or special warfare. Then yeah, you're going to need to know that stuff, and hopefully you do before you come in. But you're not required to be a professional swimmer. You just need to be able to do the basics of swimming. If you've never been in a swim pool before, if you've never swam in your life, I highly recommend going to a pool, or going to a friend that knows how to swim, YMCA, something, the beach, safe environment, controlled environment. Don't put yourself at risk, but learn the basics of being able to tread water and swim. Because do they really teach you? It's a yes or no really answer to that. If you fail to swim, there's remedial classes they give you, but they will literally teach you to the point of passing. So it's nothing against them, but they're not going to sit there and hold a whole 3-week course of swimming and then have you go again. They're literally just going to send you the next day. If you don't pass the swim, do the remedial course, go home. Next day, if you can swim, if your RDCs have time to send you, they'll send you again, and it's going to repeat process. So they're going to do their best to teach you to pass, but they are not going to teach you to be the world's best swimmer. So that's why I just highly recommend that you learn how to swim before you're joining. However, they do a good job. I think 99% of my sailors that could not swim passed at the end. They received enough training and they were able to pass. So they do well with the very limited time and material they're given. But I also had a recruit that I had to ASMO because they just could not pass the swim, even though I sent him about 25 times. So some people it just takes longer to swim, or some people it doesn't. I've had people who had never swam before, and they did the remedial class, and the next day they passed. It really depends on the person. But I do really recommend just learning how to do the basics of swimming, floating, and just swimming for about a minute. If you can do those two things, you'll be just fine. Do you know if it's possible for reserves to become RDC? Kind of thought that crossed my mind recently. So it's possible, but that changes. So the amount of people that they need as RDCs, whether they need to, do incentives to get more people to do RDC duty, or they're not letting people extend as RDCs because they just don't need more people, so they're just going to rotate people out. That changes. It goes up and down, up and down. I've seen both of them while I was there. when I was first there, they weren't letting people extend, and then by the time I was leaving, they needed people, and then now I'm hearing they're letting people extend again. So when they needed people, yeah, they let reserves do it. Full-time support, they let full-time support do it. A couple of my buddies were full-time support while they're in RDC, but it depends. So I would, at that time, if you're asking because you are already in, I would talk to your detailer and see what's going on with that. Then the last one I have for here is, have you ever done an NROTC NSI training? How does it compare to normal boot camp? So NROTC, ROTC, JROTC, I haven't done them personally. I've heard good things, I've heard bad things. It really depends on how it's ran. I don't really know the program personally. I never did it. I've never run one. I've never fully observed one either, but I've heard from other people who were my recruits or now sailors who have gone through it. I can tell you as an RDC, it's sometimes helpful and sometimes I feel like I have to retrain the recruit. So to give an example, with the retraining is they were doing drill and I don't know who was teaching them drill and how to march, but it was not right. And maybe it worked for ROTC or JROTC, but it did not work for me because they kept on saying, oh, I think we do it this way. And my response was, oh, my bad. You're the RDC now, being sarcastic with them. But it was just crazy. It was just, they just couldn't get through their head. And that was a mental thing. Maybe it was just that person's character was to argue or something. But the flip side of that is I've had one where none of their stuff was helpful, but they already had it in their mentality to be able to receive training in a military fashion really well. And two of my RPOCs were people who have been to JROTC. And I've had people at JROTC that were never any part of my divisional staff. But that, I think the huge benefit would be that they're more receptive to training in the military environment and how we function in the military, different from civilians, and the way we talk to each other, or the way that we order each other around or anything like that. So yeah, I think it could be beneficial. I don't know. Comparatively to boot camp, it's nothing like boot camp because you go home at the end of the day, and I'm pretty sure it's a volunteer thing. I don't know how that works exactly, but I imagine it's just a few hours, whatever you go to it, if an hour at that. Boot camp is, 24 hours for about 10 weeks. So definitely doesn't compare in that sense. But I would say as far as the mentality, it's definitely great. Definitely had I would say 9 out of 10 recruits that I had that are now sailors. Very good responsive mentally. It seems like they were ready, mentally prepared when it came to boot camp. And that's, 90% of the battle is, are you mentally prepared? The other 10%, easy, got you. I can get you the rest of the way. We'll help you with the mentality part though, but that's the more annoying part. Everything else, we got you in training, we got you in physical fitness, no big deal. And that's all answers all the questions or comments I had here. If you have any more, please leave them down. I try to respond to them as best as I can. But if there's some that I feel like I would like to go more in depth like I did now, I'll be making videos like this. I thought about doing a Q&A. Let me know if that interests you, but I thought this would be easier because I'd be able to prepare my answers and without feeling like I'm ignoring people, be able to select ones that are, actual questions or comments that receive questions and not trolls or anything like that. I'm just trying to keep this site professional. But leave them down comments below if you'd like to have them answered. Hooyah Navy.